Ooh. Yeah, well, what a third rail that one is. I mean, I don't know about the media. I think certainly I would never trust the media necessarily on something where I wasn't there myself. And so I don't know what happened. I mean, you know, this guy could be a racist who did. I mean, I certainly don't think that law belongs on the books. Stand your ground.
And I think it was the media also that pushed. I mean, originally he was essentially let off under Florida's stand your ground law, and it was the media pressure, along with the public, I think, that ultimately helped him get indicted.
Well, right. You know, the fact of the matter is, I mean, it came out that he was told not to follow this young fellow, and he did, and the young fellow ended up dead. So, you know, that looks bad, but this is the United States of America, so he's going to have a trial. It'll be a fair trial, and then we'll see how it comes out.
Okay. Boris A. says Romney is a moron. I mean Mormon. But wasn't he right when he said Russia is still our main enemy? What? Oh, for fuck's sake! Really? I'm not even going to answer that. You are too stupid to watch this show, sir. I suggest you watch the Paula Deen show. I mean, you know, the problem, if I can get into this a little, is that when we're getting into Syria, yes, Russia's on the other side of that conflict. So we're kind of putting the Cold War back into the microwave, which is not a good idea. But no, Russia should not. We certainly don't approve of everything they do over there, nor do they approve of us, everything we do. And some of our stuff is not perfect. But no, they are not the main enemy.
Hardly our main enemy.
Jesus Christ. Michael, is it true that there are agricultural gag bills, I know this, in 4 states that will criminalize journalism on industrial food?
Well, they've been debated in legislatures. I don't think any of them have passed quite yet, but they are seeking to criminalize journalism.
Why was Oprah on trial? Remember that way back in the 90s when Oprah had to go down to Texas?
Right. That's right. Those are in 14 states. It's easier to libel a head of broccoli than a person.
What's a veggie libel?
Oprah
I thought he slandered the cows
in a way that crashes the market, and she did. She went on. On her show. She heard about mad cow disease, and she just said, "I'm not eating another burger in my life." And
which is an opinion of an American citizen. The idea that you can't say this is insane.
And these laws would never survive a challenge. Well, in most Supreme Courts.
But didn't she have to go on trial? Didn't she have to do her show from Texas?
Millions of dollars defending herself against this Texas
Will she be able to eat?
Unfortunately, she won. Because had she lost, we would have had the constitutional test we need of these laws. But these new ones, these ag-gag bills, criminalize the taking of a photograph of an industrial farm and publishing it without permission.
Oh, gosh. Why spreading sunlight on a situation? Can't have that in America. Bob, with the upcoming Supreme Court rulings on affirmative action next week, do you agree with The Economist that it's a good idea for it to end?
No.
I don't either.
What's missing is that the assumption is that somehow the playing field was leveled in terms of race in this country. That has never been the case. We went through however long the centuries of slavery. We went through the Jim Crow era, then we went through the discriminatory period. Discrimination has not ended. A lot of people would like to believe that it has.
But we have a black president.
And
Oprah's a billionaire.
That has really killed the deal in terms of affirmative action and that sort of thing. But the fact of the matter is, 1 in 3 black children in this country is growing up poor. A lot of black families can't afford to send their children to college. And a lot of kids are going through schools that are terrible schools, and then when they graduate, they get a diploma, and then they get into college, they're not up to speed. So,
the argument I always use is look, if you look at the economic statistics, the average household, black household, is worth maybe like something 11 cents on the dollar versus the white.
Can I tell you something? With whites, I think it was something like the median household income is something like $120,000, if I have it correct. There is a few variations on black, but the highest one that I saw is that the median family wealth among African Americans is $5,000. That's no money, and that's the high estimate. I think it came from a Pew survey.
Right.
So
if you look at those,
it's all sensing equipment. The issue will be getting it through. It's got to go through a lot of regulations. But imagine this. This is to tempt you with it. The self-parking automobile. You pull up to the mall, you get out of the car, you hit a button on your phone, the car drives off and parks itself, and then when you want it to come back, you hit the button, the car comes back. Self-auto valet.
James Bond had that.
Did it really?
Yeah, James Bond had a car.
Well, we can all be James Bond one day. And
maybe it was Austin Powers.
And also, here's a beautiful thing. When you have cars cooperating, V2V communication, vehicle-to-vehicle communication, they can squadron together, they can platoon together on highways, reducing congestion, increasing the carrying capacity of highways, reducing fuel consumption, and that's the real... Oh, and by making them electronically crash-proof, they can be lighter, and so they can consume less fuel. So it's a cascade of virtues with autonomous cars.
And the left-lane bandits can be forever confined away?
Absolutely, you can blow them off if you like. With your Porsche, right?
Yeah.
All right, wait a minute.
Did I
What, you ever I'm just finding this out. Okay, I mean, like, if a person runs out in front of this car, the car will know.
The car, generally speaking, the car will react much faster than a human can.
Faster than a human.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, most accidents are caused by driver error or driver misjudgment.
Sure.
This you could zero that out. And the technology is very robust. It will be.
And what year are we looking at to have this?
Well,
on the lot.
I drove a car this year that has many of the precursor systems. It has.
But that's your business. I mean,
you can buy this car in Beverly Hills. It's a lane keeping and distance following radar. It has a navigation system. It knows where it is at all times. Integrating these systems will not be a high technical threshold.
And the state of Nevada has already licensed those kinds of vehicles to operate on their state highways.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Will the Schumer-Rubio immigration bill, I didn't know that's what, I guess that's what it's called. Yeah, the immigration bill they passed in the Senate, will it pass in the House? How could it? John Boehner says he's not even going to bring it up for a vote.
They're not going to take up that specific bill, it doesn't sound like, but I think they are going to attempt some kind of Republican bill that will get through the House.
This is so what's wrong with our situation in this country. It's already such a Republican bill. It's already ridiculously cruel.
It's a lousy bill.
Ridiculously cruel to immigrants for no reason. The path to citizenship takes 13 years, and oh, by the way, we shoot you first. Because, well, there's...
Is that the Texas policy?
That's the Texas policy, absolutely. I mean, John McCain himself said, if you don't think this has enough border security in it, then border security really isn't what you're worried about. It's just to assuage racists, this bill.
Yeah. I think one of the big questions is, so there's been this trend in Washington in recent years where everybody loves to do these comprehensive bills, where you try to put in a thing that'll make you happy, and a thing that'll make you happy, and a thing that'll make you happy, and we package it into 1,000-page bill. And then we see if we can get it to pass. And so there's a lot for people to like in the Senate bill, but then once it makes it over to the House, people can find the things that they don't like. And the fact that it's that 1,000-page bill sometimes...
What could they not like on the conservative side?
Pathway to citizenship.
What?
Pathway to citizenship.
There you go.
Limit. Wait.
That's it.
There are significant limits
that takes 13 years, it said. 13 years, the pathway.
There are significant limits on the number of high-tech immigrants that can come in from India and China who have engineering and scientific skills that we want to tap into.
Well, that's fiddling at the margins.
This bill places punitive limits on those kinds of things. And
I don't think that's the case at all. This is a bill that's supported by the tech community, by the Chamber of Commerce, by the AFL-CIO, by the evangelical community. That's like a weird cast of characters that all really like this bill.
Monument Communications has been in touch with people who are complaining in the high-tech community that this bill doesn't address their needs. But I want to mention a second thing, and that is, in more than a decade of working on the Hill, I've actually never seen a major landmark piece of legislation come from the Senate and just get a single up or down vote in the House. You always have the right to make
it gets brought.
What's that?
It gets brought. John Boehner goes by this.
Coming over. You can't stop that rule. That's just a regular rule. It comes over. The question is, what does the House pair it up with?
But
then you're going to go into negotiation.
Has there ever been a lamer speaker than John Boehner? I mean, this guy cannot.
I mean, thinner.
He has a hard job.
He does have a hard
Does
job.
anybody in Washington have a harder job than John Boehner?
I think
Obama.
I feel really sorry for John Boehner, too.
Obama has to deal with these mental midgets on a daily basis. So yes, I would say.
What I would say.
Yeah.
I'll start, but I know you've got something to add. Look, I think it was smart when they initially split the bill, right? So they had food stamps and the farm bill together, and it makes sense for a political coalition, but the two things don't necessarily go together. And I had hoped that what they would do is actually cut some of the fat out of the farm bill and some of the giveaways to the big farmers, and maybe cut some of the fat out of the food stamps, but keep it going, make it more efficient. But instead, it looks like Republicans have chosen to reward their chosen group of people, and I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is an abomination and it's disgusting. And if I were in Congress, I absolutely wouldn't have voted for it. I think it's complete pork and it's horrible. And the whole thing should have been voted down. It's awful.
Pork for pork. Mike, as an Eagle Scout, how do you feel about the Boy Scout of America's new policy on gay Boy Scouts and their exclusion of gay adult leaders? I guess you can be gay if you're the scout, but not the leader?
Who asked me that question?
Mr. Dunbar.
Cherry Triple X 69. Someone you know?
Yeah, awesome. No, wow, what a super question. I appreciate that.
Well,
that's great. First of all, it's a distinguished Eagle Scout, but let's not split hairs.
Okay. Well, you
know
live
what?
in San Francisco, don't you?
I live in San Francisco.
Well,
I got
careful
my
of your
start
answer.
in the opera. I'm single, and yet.
You got your start in the opera?
Yeah, I did, actually, a long time ago. And reading books like the one you were reading earlier out loud. Real slow and low and stuff like that, you know.
I started as a ballerina.
We may have dated. I'm glad it's behind them, as it were.
So to speak.
If you will. No, you know what? The Boy Scouts are a big, fat, easy target, and they have been for a long time. But the truth is, they really changed my life as a kid. I mean, I went in shy, backward, stuttering, and I came out different, and I'm grateful for it. To this day, I work with the Scouts. I work with Future Farmers of America and Skills USA, which I think are the three youth organizations that still really matter. I personally think the country needs those organizations, and my sympathies are with the kids in every case. The leadership, I don't have a real connection to. I'm glad they worked it out, but this thing, it's been toxic for recruitment. I get that it's an important issue, but so often when people talk about it, it's to the exclusion of the kids who are in it. Right? You got 1 million kids, and it matters, and they're listening. And look, I'm glad they're engaged. I'm glad it's resolved. So that's a long way of saying yes or no.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes or no, should they have a merit badge for wedding planning? Just answer that.
It's a valuable skill.
What are your thoughts, I guess this is for anybody, on Elizabeth Warren's bill to tie federal student loan interest rates to the same rates the biggest banks are getting at the Fed? That's Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren.
She's the real deal, right? Isn't that a good idea? Should banks really be getting a better rate than students?
Hard-working students of all colors?
No?
Absolutely.
Come on, do you have to just be on the wrong side reflexively?
Yes.
Can't you be on the right side?
We're on the right side, but it can't be popular. That's our rule. It cannot be popular.
But why is this a bad thing?
So I don't know that it's
Well,
a bad
politically, I will just say, I mean, as a political consultant, it's very possible that this is actually going to be very effective for her as a policy that she's putting out there. Now, to slightly drift off topic, I would just like to say that since we're talking about Elizabeth Warren, and since there's a lot of speculation going on about 2016, everybody keeps talking about Hillary Clinton. Now, I don't agree with Elizabeth Warren as a matter of policy. I know everybody's really shocked by that, right? But I would actually be interested to see if Elizabeth Warren would like to have a shot at 2016. I think she could actually be a more interesting and more compelling candidate.
And she'd be our first
Native
American
than Hillary Clinton.
president, I believe.
I like her better.
That's possibly true. That's possible.
Oh, yeah. Much more of a real fighter for left causes. Hillary is, to me, much more of a hawk, much more of a centrist, much more of a corporatist, much more of a
certainly much more of a hawk. And
right.
I think that's right.
Oh no, I'm with you. Let's draft.
I think there's always a lot.
We'll do it together.
I think there's always a lot of talk about we need to have more women in politics, and I agree with that. So let's stop with all of the it must be Hillary.
We're rolling back the American social contract. Even Paul Ryan said that he wanted to rewrite that, which would have meant returning us, or at least trying to return us, to a pre-New Deal era. They don't believe in this stuff. Paul Ryan is an Ayn Rand guy,
right?
And that philosophy would have gone to the center of our politics. We would have been moved very, very sharply to the right. And worse, here's the worst part: the economy's headed up a little bit right now. If Romney had won, it would have seemed that slashing taxes for the wealthy, slashing regulations, slashing programs for the poor had a cause and effect on an improving economy, and progressive policies would have been discredited for a generation.
How is he a progressive? What has he done since he was inaugurated that shows he's a progressive?
You just were talking about Obamacare. Progressives tried for 100 years, since the Progressive Party platform of 1912 with Theodore Roosevelt, to get universal coverage. Several presidents tried. They all failed until Barack Obama.
Clinton. But the progressives wanted the public option, and he didn't do that.
Well, that's making the perfect the enemy of the good. He didn't get everything he wanted. Roosevelt didn't get everything he wanted on Social Security.
But he should have. He should have went for the public option.
No,
that's the middle.
That's
the middle.
Look, I was all for the public option. I'm a single payer
guy.
The
public was for it until they didn't back it.
No, politics. Politics is what you can get through, and 8 presidents had failed to do this. He got it done. So it's pretty crazy to second-guess his strategy.
I'm not, and I give him all the credit in the world. But let's get clear on where the goalposts are. The left-wing approach would be single-payer. Like what all the other modern countries have.
That's what I want.
The right-wing approach would just keep going along the way we're doing. 45,000 people dying every year because they don't have it. The middle approach should have been the public option. It's not that radical. The 70% of people were for it until the Republicans. I always say the Republicans don't run away from polls; they change them. The Democrats run away from them.
Here's the problem. In 2009, when this was being debated, 2009 and 2010. They were trying to get this bill through the crazy Senate Finance Committee.
Yes,
the way they
I remember that
politics
gang of
was that if they did the public option thing, it wouldn't have gone through.
I wish there was a gang.
So they did an awful lot of
those motherfuckers up. That'd be great if they should just show the gun in the shirt, under the shirt. Like that.
Not allowed.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of other progressive legislation too, especially in the first 2 years that got done.
All right, let me ask a question for Neil. If our economy is really back. Neil, if our economy is really black, why aren't companies hiring? And when they do, why are wages still so low?
If you're an employer, especially if you're a small, medium-sized business, the incentive to hire is not particularly great, partly because of the regulations. If you look at small businesses, the burden of regulation is relatively much higher on them than it is on large businesses. And although you can see the economy recovering, there's great uncertainty about future regulation. A lot of small businesses don't really know what Obamacare is going to mean for them. And there's a lot of uncertainty also about the future path of taxation. So even firms that could expand, that have the cash to hire, are not doing it. And if you look at the survey data, it's clear that it's not because there wasn't enough stimulus, and it's certainly not because interest rates aren't low enough because they couldn't be lower. It's because there's a sense that the future is uncertain, and they really don't know whether the policy environment is going to encourage
But interest
expansion.
rates are going up a little now, aren't they?
Well, that possibility, what's interesting...
It could only go up.
Well, even that possibility, which is not certain at all, but even the discussion of that possibility caused the markets to go into a frenzy. And by the way, when you talk about the progressive aspects of the Obama presidency, his biggest economic success has been to bring the stock market back to where it was before the crisis. Who benefits from that? The 1%. not the 80%,
right?
Who hardly own any stocks at all.
You back Romney, and hasn't that austerity policy in Europe and here basically failed? Can we agree on that?
Well, one of the interesting things about this debate is that it's become so simplified into a caricature austerity and a caricature stimulus, as if there were options to do more than a 10% deficit, a 10% of GDP deficit. The stimulus was pretty big. For 3 years, the deficit was around about 9 or 10%. And the austerity, which was being discussed, I don't think I remember anybody saying we should be balancing the budget in 2009. So we should get away from the kind of caricature.
The Tea Party freshmen were saying that in 2011 they wanted
nobody's serious.
$1 trillion
Nobody's serious.
I think if we can talk in the Central African Republic, right after they finish fighting their civil war, must come up with a better name for their country. It's like if we named Kansas Central Flat State. Also, Mad Dog, a Christian rioter who ate a Muslim cab driver in the Central African Republic this week, has to blame himself the next time he can't get a cab. What kind of Christian eats a man's body and blood? I mean, Jesus Christ, you're worse than that nun. New rule, now that liberals have forwarded their agenda by inserting a mass gay wedding into the Grammys, conservatives must match them tit for tat by having a mass shooting at the Country Music Awards. And finally, new rule, now that Ohio's Billy Stanley got his dying wish to be buried aboard his beloved Harley, let's never do that again. Otherwise, it's just a matter of time before a woman demands to be buried straddling the machine she loved. It's so sensitive. New rule, after listing the side effects of Chantix, the pill that helps you quit smoking, anger, anxiety, depression, thoughts of killing yourself, the drug company must admit that one can experience those same feelings by giving up cigarettes without taking Chantix. And rule, Yakov Smirnov must explain to the Russian Cossacks who whipped Pussy Riot that in America, pussy whips you. Remember him? New rule, Spain has too many weird festivals. There's the running of the bulls. There's that weird food fight with tomatoes. And this week they have the Devil's Jump. A man dressed as the devil jumps over babies. Did I mention that Spain's unemployment rate is 25%? Finally, new rule, now that there's been an uproar over all the neocons who lied about the Iraq War with no consequences, someone must tell me why there isn't a similar uproar over all the Republicans who lied about Obamacare with no consequences. It's been 4 years. It's been 4 years since the bill passed. Has anybody come across even one death panel? The next, I'm not saying the Japanese can't make an iPhone case molded on an actual human vagina. Yes, they did. I'm just saying they have to tell us why. It's awkward enough butt dialing now. And who can keep up? I'm still using my dictaphone. And finally, new rule, if 21st century America really is a service economy, and I guess it is since 80% of American jobs are in the service industry, somebody has to tell me, then why does the service here suck so bad? If we're the service people, why am I still on hold with Eastern Airlines? Last week, a recording went viral of a Comcast customer service rep arguing endlessly with a customer who just wanted to cancel his service. It was 18 minutes of a guy saying, I'd like to cancel. Why? Doesn't matter. Just want to. Why? Please, I'm just looking to terminate. Why? Folks, I'm no business expert, but I don't think your customer service experience is supposed to feel like a car ride with a 4-year-old. Hung Han Boon, the Asian fisherman who hauled this thing in, says that upon seeing it for the first time, it was so creepy and so scary, he actually thought twice before rubbing it on his penis. And all you jerks on Twitter who've been criticizing Renee Zellweger for merely trying to survive in a youth-obsessed culture have to shut up and just accept her new look.
No, it's not her.
Oh, no,
it's okay. It's okay.
Shut up. New rule. Nurse Casey Hickox has to explain one simple question. If you're so non-contagious, how come your senator is sitting 3,000 miles away here with me? You didn't meet her, did you? And government officials must calm down and look at this logically. It's Maine. The best quarantine policy is there's nowhere to go anyway.
Oh, come on.
I'm just kidding. I love Maine. I was in Portland this year. New rule, now that former Navy SEAL Robert O'Neill has admitted to being the man who shot Osama bin Laden, he has to tell us what badass action movie quip he delivered right before he shot him. And please, Bob, if you didn't say something like that, just make it up. Tell us you raised your rifle, spit out some chaw, and said, "Tell the virgins I said hello." If you're going to get the world's smallest man together with the world's tallest man, come on. They have to do a buddy cop movie. How has this not happened already? They're police detectives who don't want to work with each other because the tall one can't fit in the squad car and the little one is too old for this shit. And one of them is dating Mila Kunis. Sprinkle in some awkward high fives, and come summer, we'll be juggling popcorn statues at the MTV Movie Awards. New rule, now that we know that cured Ebola patients can have infectious semen for months afterwards, Trojan must come out with a hazmat condom. Because there's nothing more annoying than having a one-night stand and waking up with AIDS and Ebola. And finally, new rule, it's great to be back. Thank you for welcoming us back for another year. We appreciate you having us in your home. And as we start a new year, let's start a new tradition, a good tradition, to replace one of our stupid traditions, like the Electoral College or the drug war. Let's make it a tradition that just as individuals make New Year's resolutions, so should America. And finally, new rule, don't make me go back to my old title. Anybody here remember the 90s? The 90s, people? Okay. It was a crazy time, and I had a show called Politically Incorrect. Because, thank you. Because back then, political correctness had gotten so out of hand. I mean, blacks became African Americans, Mexicans became Latinos, and Indians became casino owners. Broken homes became dysfunctional families. Bums became the homeless. Crazy people became Fox News reporters. Oh, and it was a tough time for comics. One young comedian even got into big trouble for saying the word chink. And finally, new rule, the only time you should take a gun into a Sonic restaurant is when you're robbing it. Yes, lately firearms enthusiasts have been taking their guns out to public places for play dates with other gun owners and their guns. And in the process, frightening lots of properly adjusted people at places like Sonic and Chili's and Chipotle and Jack in the Box, proving once again that America's gun laws are worthless and sad. and that its dining options aren't much better. And finally, new rule, now that the people of Colorado have legalized pot, for everybody, and not just for longtime sufferers of, well, whatever it is I have. They must realize they are the Jackie Robinson of marijuana legislation. Which is why they can't go all Cheech and Chong on us. You guys have to get this right, or it's going to ruin it for everybody. So embrace it. Be the Jackie Robinson of pot. And finally, new rule, now that Iraq is falling apart again, someone needs to drill it into the American psyche that broken nations are a lot like broken people. You can't fix them. Look at Afghanistan and the lawless tribal areas of Pakistan. Look at Denise Richards and the lawless tribal areas of Charlie Sheen. Lately, there's been so many calls for American intervention in Syria, Ukraine, North Africa, now Iraq again. Maybe America is the one that needs an intervention. Maybe America needs Dr. Phil to come by and ask us, how's that nation building working for you? And finally, new rule, you know how sometimes you lose something and you look all over the house for it and you can't find it anywhere, and eventually you just give up and forget about it? We should do that with Malaysia Flight 370. Watching CNN continue to breathe life into this thing is like watching a doctor on Grey's Anatomy pounding on a patient's chest until another doctor has to pull him off and say, Derek, it's over. That's what I want to say to Wolf Blitzer. Wolf, it's over. Time to move on. There'll be other ocean disasters. We'll always have Atlantis. But this isn't news anymore. It's an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. And finally, new rule, now that Americans are getting wise to the dangers of being spied on by the government, they have to start getting more alarmed about spying on each other. Because if the Donald Sterling mess proved anything, it's that there's a force out there just as powerful as Big Brother. Big Girlfriend. Well, just once, some monster has to go to San Francisco and not destroy the Golden Gate Bridge. Go to Fisherman's Wharf. Try the crabs. This weekend, Godzilla wrecks the Golden Gate Bridge, just like it was wrecked in Pacific Rim, X-Men, Terminator, Superman, Planet of the Apes. It came from beneath the sea. Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus. Leave San Francisco alone. If I wanted to see a 20,000-ton monster destroy a bridge, I'd move to New Jersey. Had to be done, Kevin. New rule, don't give away the ending of your movie in the title. Tell people these things. Finally, new rule, conservatives must be told that President Obama saying he wouldn't let any son of his play pro football is not controversial. It's common sense, like telling your kids not to play in traffic. But on the right, any critique of our holy religion football is blasphemy because real men don't point out facts or consider consequences, and brain injuries are fun. That's what makes a Terry Bradshaw such a character. And a Sarah Palin interview so entertaining. Now that shocked Fruit Loop lovers have learned that all Fruit Loops, no matter what color, are the same flavor.
Wait! They are?
Someone must explain gently to them that Fruit Loops don't contain any fruit either.
A sad evening.
And that the word fruit isn't spelled with two O's. Oh, hell, let's call Fruit Loops what they really are. Gay Cheerios. And finally, new rule, the Sparklets guy must tell me why nobody talks around the water cooler anymore. But wait, I think I know why. It's because as a culture, we don't have enough in common anymore. And that's because the internet, which was supposed to unite the world, has become too adept at serving us personalized content. Do you know what I saw on Yahoo's front page this morning? No, you don't, because mine isn't the same as yours. People get news feeds now that just spit back customized stories based on what we've clicked on in the past. So I, for example, might see a lot of stories about pot, American history, and, of course, Christian mingle. Whereas Ted Nugent just gets ads for Prozac and bullets. And finally, new rule, no one can blame me when I say this is a stupid country, when 60% of the adults in it think the Noah's Ark story is literally true. Which is why I'm already sick of seeing the ads for this floating piece of giraffe crap. Although, the movie has been condemned by both Christians and Muslims, so it must be doing something right. And they say it also may lose a fortune for the studio, which would put it in hot water with the Jews, too. New rule, now that 1 in 5 people in the UK admitted they would have sex with a robot, inflatable love dolls must stop looking so surprised. Actually look surprised instead. And order. The Pope is a pimp. I'm serious. I find myself wanting to ask this Pope a question I've never wanted to ask a Pope before. Can I party with you? New rule, before flying into a road rage and getting out of your truck and pounding on another driver's window, like Florida's Joseph Carl did, make sure you put your truck in park, or you could end up running yourself over, like Florida's Joseph Carl did. Now, the embarrassing part isn't when the front bumper passes over you. It's when the back bumper goes over you and you get teabagged by your own truck nuts. And the makers of Sharknado have to try harder to be stupid. Have they seen Heaven is for Real? One. Besides, a really laughable, stupid sequel is always 3D. You need glasses, like Jaws 3D and Piranha 3D and Rick Perry. And finally, new rule, crazy idea division. Since there's an election coming up, Democrats might want to say something about what they're proposing to do for America sometime between now and November. Crazy idea. Everyone is predicting disaster for Democrats in the midterms, and their response seems to be, yeah, sucks to be us right now. Well, maybe that's because their basic talking points always start with an apology. Like, Obamacare is far from perfect, but nothing's perfect. But you don't start with pointing that out about something you're supposed to like. Hey, Bob, how's your wife? Well, she's not perfect, but she beats masturbating alone. And finally, new rule, Democrats need to stop despairing about the gloomy midterm predictions and realize there's actually a glimmer of hope, and it has to do with suicide. Let me finish. For decades now, liberals pushed the issue of assisted suicide, and it got nowhere. Then they started to call it aid in dying, and its approval shot up 20 points, and it's now legal in 5 states. That's the power of language. And if they took the word dying out altogether and called it early retirement, it would probably win over 10 more states. If they called it death by chocolate, they could get all 50. Well, since we imported 4 billion pounds of food from China last year, I don't need to know that a Chinese Walmart once sold mislabeled donkey meat. That's what it was supposed to be. That was actually ground up fox. If I can't trust Walmart brand, Chinese made, fox free donkey burgers, what can I trust? Walmart donkey burgers. One bite and you'll say, this tastes like ass. And, you know those local news stories where a returning American soldier surprises his kids? Well, now that we're going back to Iraq, we should do somewhere the soldier surprises the kid in Iraq. Hey, Muhammad, it's me! And this time I promise I'll never leave you again. New Major League pitchers can go ahead and wear this new padded cap as protection against line drives to the head. But when they give up a home run, they have to say, "Oh, rats." And finally, new rule, Tea Party people have to explain something to me. I know you can't stand the unemployed, those takers who don't work. But if you're the hard workers, why do you all have so much time to listen to talk radio in the middle of the day? I mention this because last week brought the news that powerful Republican Congressman Mike Rogers was leaving the House to join an already long list of conservative radio hosts that includes Bill O'Reilly, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, Laura Ingraham, Michael Savage, Monica Crowley, Dennis Prager, Herman Cain. I could go on. But who could blame you for thinking, geez, aren't there enough right-wing radio hosts as it is? No, never. There are never enough. Why? Because the Tea Party always has room for one more voice. And finally, new rule, the runners-up for the most useless person in Congress in our Flip-A-District contest must not feel bad. After all, there can only be one winner, but let me assure each and every one of you, in my book, you're all losers. But be warned, we did not pick the biggest clown, because the real problem in Washington isn't the funniest fools. It's people like our winner tonight, the living embodiment of legislation for hire, the men's warehouse of empty suits. From Minnesota's 2nd District, come on down, Congressman John Klein! I'll prove it to you now, Jerry. Finally, new rules. Scientists must conduct a study to determine which is easier to distract, a cat with a laser pointer or the American voter.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
And if you think I'm exaggerating, please come listen to my story about a man named Sam Brownback. Sam Brownback. I know, sounds like a gay black porn star. But no, he is the governor of Kansas, and he was swept into office in 2010 with a simple promise to provide, quote, a shot of adrenaline into the heart of the Kansas economy. An unfortunate metaphor borrowed from Pulp Fiction, where he's a coked-up hitman and Kansas is a junkie who's ODing on the floor. The only difference being in the movie, the junkie lived. And finally, new rule, Democrats have to wake up and realize that voting is the one thing that scares Republicans, which is why Republicans try to make it so hard. But not impossible. Of course it's sleazy, racist, and anti-democratic to pass voter ID laws. But the fact that they're making it harder to vote, let that inspire you. You're an underdog. You're Brad Pitt in a tank. And is it really that hard to get a stupid ID card? And no, I'm not talking about the 100-year-old lady whose birth certificate was lost in the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. I'm talking to people out there who won't stand in line for an hour to vote, but who'll camp out in front of Best Buy on Thanksgiving night to buy a TV 3 inches bigger than the one they already have. And finally, new rule, now that the race for president in 2016 has finally begun, Democrats must turn to the one person who has a record of competence and reform unmatched in their party. I'm talking, of course, about the man California just reelected, Jerry Brown. The man who took California from broke and ungovernable, as it was said by, to be under Governor English as a second language, took it to flush and leading the nation in job creation. If Jerry Brown was 55, That accomplishment in this giant state would have Democrats hyping him for president. But they're not, because he's 76, and ageism is the last acceptable prejudice in America. Well, that and Asian drivers. Finally, new rule, instead of giving an I voted sticker to the people who did vote, let's make the people who didn't vote wear one that says, I couldn't be bothered. And then let's stop patting ourselves on the back for doing something we're supposed to do anyway. I voted. It's like wearing a sticker that says, I feed my dog. I flush after using the toilet. I keep my clothes on at the playground. Finally, new rule. I don't know if there is a hell, but if there is, on the trip to get there, the in-flight movie must be Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas. But if there isn't a hell, as I suspect, I'd like to take a crack at saving Christmas myself. Because I think it does need saving. You know why? Because when the subject of Christmas comes up now, I notice so many people roll their eyes and say some variation of, I hate Christmas. Well, I'm not ready to throw Christmas under the bus. I say, let's save Christmas. What do you say? Ludwig Dolizel, the Czech Republic indigent, dubbed Europe's dirtiest man because he makes a fire each night and sleeps in the warm ashes, sadly must realize life holds one more indignity. Donald Sterling doesn't want him taking pictures with his girlfriend. First the bear, now this guy. All right. Nice rendition of the theme song. Very nice. And we got a new rendition. We got a new set.
Oh, you got a new song?
Oh, it's been like 13 years.
How involved are you in choosing the new song?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah. But they did a hell of a job.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, well, you can borrow them. You know, they're not busy on Friday nights around that time. So if you like a band, mine is for rent. There's not much going on. What should we talk about? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I'm getting Donald Trump for my birthday. Oh, I keep saying, God, why? And then I go, oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. The last 25 years I've been making fun of you on TV. That's okay. That's religious. You hated that, too. I remember. Okay. All right.
Everywhere you go, I'd imagine people ask you about this, right? I mean, I would assume that any time you appear in public, people corner you and want to know what you think.
Oh, I don't appear in public, Jimmy. I go in public.
That's okay.
Only you're insecure. You have that backlighting. You're like, you go into Ralph's, you've got a crew. I mean, I know how you...
I travel with an applause sign.
Yes, true. Yeah. Look, it's a glam squad.
But people want to know what you think. I think a lot of people want to be...
That's why I have a show.
Yeah, that is probably why you have a show.
Yeah, that's it.
Your last show...
I was reading about you with this subject today.
With what subject?
Wait, you said that you were, taking people to task, as I think you should, for... who would boycott Donald Trump, and you said, but if he wanted to come on your show, you would have him on.
Of course.
Because you said it's important to talk to important people.
Yes.
But I would add this.
Yeah.
If you are going to have him on, he's a politician.
Yeah.
I know he's actually a game show host from Queens. But now he's the President of the United States. So if you're going to have him on, this is everybody, hold his feet to the fire.
You mean literally?
Oh, if you could. Would that
the way you say that, I assume that
don't let him use you.
I assume that you are assuming that he would not do your show. And do you think he would ever...
It took me 8 years and $1 million
to get Obama on the show, right? Yeah. But I think you could.
So
I would, if I was you, I would dare him to do your show.
Exactly, because
he's that kind of guy.
What kind of guy is he? That's the point. We don't know. He's completely unpredictable. It took me 8 years to get Obama. He could appear on my second show. You don't know what this guy is doing, which is why I'm sweating like a whore in church. Because
he specifically?
No, seriously.
He threatened to sue you, right? Did he actually?
Threatened? He did sue me.
He took steps.
No, he didn't take steps, Jimmy. He sued me. I had to spend a lot of money to defend this suit.
How much money did you spend to defend it?
A lot of money. Lawyers are not cheap.
Did you get served with a subpoena?
No. I don't know.
Papers?
I'm a pothead, Jimmy. I don't remember.
Subpoena up.
You're still enjoying your pot? You still like...
Oh, you know I don't do anything like that. It's illegal. Oh, wait, it's not even illegal.
No. I mean, that could all change.
Do you think so?
Well, I mean, the new Attorney General is Jeff Sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know what this guy... I mean, he's a crazy right-wing loon like the rest of them in this cabinet from opposite worlds. Thank you, sir. That he appointed, you know, no, but that's what it is. Everybody's in charge of a department they want to get rid of.
Right.
You know, the head of the EPA doesn't believe in global warming. Trump wants to get rid of the EPA and replace the environment with something terrific. So I don't know, you know. I'm just saying, yes, you may have to go back to a dealer to get your pot because these nuts could reverse the things. It's still just state. It's only legal in the state.
Is this your number one concern?
Obviously,
is this what you're most worried about?
I didn't think it was until we started to talk, and then I'm like, boy, talk shows are very revealing, you know?
In a way,
it's not my number one concern, but that is something. I bet you it's their number one concern.
What is your number one concern? What are
the environment.
Yeah, the environment.
I'd like to live here.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I was watching this show over the break, Mars. Did you see this?
No.
It's about Mars.
Should we move there, or what's the plan?
No, it's the point.
Oh.
But like, it's amazing. It was, I think, Ron Howard executive produced it, and it was a scripted show, but they intercut documentary footage of real people who are really working on going to Mars, like Elon Musk.
Right.
The Tesla dude.
Yeah.
He's got a rocket company. He wants to get there like tomorrow. Bezos of Amazon, they got a little competition. Let's get to Mars. And they talk about how, like, oh, Mars, we have to become a 2-planet species because we might, you know, screw it up here on Earth. And with Trump, we might. And I'm like, what the are you people talking about? There's no air on Mars. There's no atmosphere. It's cold. You have to wear a suit. They're living in these pods. What if the power goes out? You know? And just the idea that today we found out 2016, the hottest year on record.
Yeah.
Before that, it was 2015. Before that, it was 2014. You see a trend?
I do.
I mean, we are screwing up this planet. And this is a nice planet to live on. For one thing, we can breathe.
Yeah, that is a plus. It's a bonus.
I'm so into that.
But with that said, you know,
I'm so into breathing without a suit.
You have always loved breathing without a suit. That's one of the things I know
just go
about
outside. It's, you know.
So
call me a convenience whore.
I think it's very interesting that what has happened now is that people don't really seem to examine specific issues anymore. It seems like you root for one team. Either you're on the right side or you're on the left side, and whatever you're told to support on this side, you support, and vice versa. And it's really kind of terrible.
Well, people are in their media ghettos. That's the problem.
Yeah. You watch your
Yes, you either watch, you know, liberal shows.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, let's not create a false equivalency like both sides are equally wrong. No one is harder on liberals than me.
That's true.
As a liberal, and I'm a liberal. But let's never forget, one side got on the short bus to Crazy Town. It's not my side.
Bill Maher is here. His show comes out Friday night on HBO. I want to change the subject for one moment. Well, maybe I'm actually not changing the subject. This is, I guess,
that's every year.
Tradition you have. You
Yes.
have a show in Hawaii every
that's
year.
Sean Penn and Eddie Vedder and me, and I don't know why we started taking the Three Stooges picture.
You pose Three Stooges style.
Yes, every year.
This is year after year.
Every year. Yeah. Okay.
Sean didn't show up, so Laura Dern filled in.
Okay.
Okay. We've got.
Okay, we get the idea. It happens every.
I know. People like to see celebrities piled up.
Oh, that's